Hello everyone, Dr. Maiden here with a video on the ABCs of academic writing. Okay, so the ABCs of academic writing, or we could say academic writing, academic research. What are the ABCs? The ABCs are always be citing. That's right, this is going to be a video about citation, citation, citation. I've broken this into a couple of pieces here. The first one is just going to be some general questions, general advice, and then we'll walk through into some tips to know if and when you're citing properly is what we're going to do here. So always be citing. The first thing I have here to say is cite more, okay? As a general rule, undergraduate students do not cite enough in their papers. So if you come to my office and you're asking me the question, Dr. Maiden, is this enough citations? Should I be citing more? My answer is going to be no, and then yes, right? I will always, from now until the end of time, err on the side of caution and say, no, you're not citing enough. Yes, you could be doing more. Because again, as a rule, you don't cite enough. So it's very, very important that you are citing regularly as you are writing and as you are building out your research, so that we can be very clear from beginning to end of whatever paper or assignment that you're doing, that we know where you are getting your data, okay? It's not just falling into your brain through some kind of divine providence. You got it somewhere. You need to be able to tell me where you got it, okay? The second thing here, number one, is cite more. Always be thinking about citing more. Number two is cite using a real style, okay? So I see you, I know what you're doing, right? That you will make stuff up. A lot of my students love to just make up citation styles. And so you can't do that, okay? There are real styles. They have very rigid rules, very rigid systems. They've published entire books about these citation styles. You really need to think about not just making something up. It's very obvious when you make something up. Cite using a real citation style. So for political science, there are two styles that I want to flag for you. There is APA style and there is Chicago style, okay? Those are the two, especially when it comes to journals. Those are the two that you are going to see most frequently over and over and over. So APA style is an in-text or parenthetical citation style. So that's where you're seeing things like author year within sentences going through the structure of your paper. I have another video that I'm going to be doing about that. I'm going to link down to it below. In that video, I'll link to this one so that we get some reinforcing information here. APA style and in-text citation style, really user-friendly. I prefer APA style to any of the others. It ends up being a much quicker way to be referencing within a work, building out new authors to explore, right? Footnote and endnote tend to be a little bit more distracting, a little bit more work for me personally, I think, as a researcher. I like APA style. You will never go wrong in my class if you use APA style. The other one then, Chicago style, is more of a footnote endnote style. Chicago style tends to be more popular. Yes, you do still have journals doing it. More popular with books, that you'll see academic books written using the Chicago style, so that you'll have that little number right up in the corner of the sentences going throughout your piece there. And that is signaling to you there's something in the footnote, there's something in the endnote, okay? Quick note here about MLA. I do a lot of intro classes. Right now I'm doing 2 intro classes, and this always comes up of students saying, what about MLA? What about MLA? Because for whatever reason, it's like the only style students are still being introduced to in high school. And I'm here to tell you, I have not used MLA style since high school. I never used it in my college, not as an undergrad, not in my first master's, not in my second master's, my PhD. I never used MLA style when I lived in Japan, when I was working in South Africa. Never, never. So, I mean, yes, it is a thing. Maybe there are people in my classes at some point that are going to be English majors. MLA is not used from what I understand, pretty much anywhere in the social sciences. I have never ever used it. I really recommend considering using APA style or Chicago style in your political science classes. All right. There's also, I'll do some other videos here coming up with actual resources for how to do this. There are so many. You can just Google it and find engines, little citation engines that'll do it for you. It can really reduce your workload if you just Google some of these things. Google APA citation, Google Chicago style citation, and have a computer just spit it out for you so that you're not having to think. I'll do more videos explaining more about those different options for you. So if we talk about cite more, obviously you need to cite more. Always be citing, ABC. Cite using a real style. The other thing I want to say here is know when and where to be citing properly within your paper. And here the biggest piece of advice I can give you is do your research. Look at journals that have been published. Look at books, book chapters. See the way that they're using citations to their advantage. And what you'll realize is there is a trend. There is a time and a place for citations in a paper. So here I can give the caveat where I say cite more. It's not necessary that, I'm not saying cite more in the sense that there should be citations in every single paragraph of your paper. There needs to be citations in the right place in your paper. So where you're building out theory, where you're defining terms, where you're providing data, providing results, providing analysis, and it's not your data, you're pulling someone else's data. I'm going to get to that in a couple of minutes here. There is a time and a place to do citation styles. Look around at articles that exist and look at where they put them. In general, what you can say is there's going to be a front loading. You will be front loading. You'll have a nice intro where you're explaining everything about your paper. Then the immediate next section, a first subheading of a paper where you're doing some type of a lit review, some type of background or defining of terms. You're going to be packing citations into those next couple paragraphs because that's where you're outlining this is where the field is. This is this political science research. This is this term. This is this data set. This is what's been done with it. Here's the puzzle. I'm finding the puzzle has this shape and you're citing all these different pieces. And here's this missing piece that I'm going to fill in with this paper, right? So you're front loading citations at the beginning. It's very likely you could be getting to the end of your paper and it's more your discussion time and you're not necessarily citing a lot at the end of the paper, okay? And that brings me to when is the right time. I have a couple of things here I want to flag. Questions you can ask yourself in terms of always be citing. Am I citing enough? Am I citing in the right place within the sentence, within the paper? So 4 questions to ask yourself here. Number 1, am I using a number? A number of any kind. Am I using a figure for GDP? Is it percentage of population? Is it some kind of statistic? If I am using a number, there will be a citation in that immediate sentence. The sentence with a number gets a citation. Parenthetical, footnote, however you want to do it. There will be a citation. If there is a number, you better cite. Because unless you are the person that went and conducted this census data in the Philippines, where did you get that information? If there is a number, any kind of a hashtag number, okay, there will be a parenthetical or a footnote in that exact sentence, okay? Next question, number 2. Am I pulling a sentence verbatim? Am I copy and pasting something from another journal article? If you are verbatim pulling something and you are not changing the sentence structure at all, or sentences, maybe you're quoting someone, whatever, you better put quotes around that and there will be a cite in that sentence, okay? So if it's multiple sentences long, you might be block quoting it out. I'll link down to a style guide below to explain when and where you should be doing block quoting. If it's a block quote, that will have a citation within that block quote. If it's just a sentence quote, there will be a citation with that exact sentence, hopefully showing us as well like a page number, if that's relevant to the citation, okay? So number 2 is, am I pulling verbatim? If yes, exact sentence. Question number 3 to ask yourself, am I defining a term? Am I doing something like defining neo-patrimonialism? Am I defining strategic peace building? If this is the first time in your paper where you're setting out a term and all of what it means, you should be citing immediately. And as best you can, you should be citing the person who came up with that thing. Okay? So in some cases, if it's something like democracy, if you're doing a paper on liberal democracy, right, you're not really going to be, there's not a sense of a founder of the study of liberal democracy. There's a lot of literature that you can be citing to say, here's the working definition of liberal democracy I am using. You can cite an individual in that way, right? But if you are defining a new term within your paper, there should be a citation there. 4th question. Am I providing a fact that it could be assumed I didn't know before, right? So here's the challenge of students will make big claims, provide big facts, big information in a paper, and not cite it. And it's the challenge as the reader to be like, I am really suspect as to whether you knew that. You just knew that, right? Going into this research assignment. My guess is you learned it somewhere, so you should be flagging for me and citing where that came from, especially if it's something like the opinions of people that aren't you, or a decision that was brought down by a court, or, it runs the gamut here of a piece of information that could be analyzing or responding to or piecing apart in your paper. If there's any sense to which I could question, is this you saying this or is this someone else saying this, and you're just reiterating it? If there is a question in your mind, could someone be thinking that? You should cite the source, okay? Cite multiple sources if it's useful as well. So those are 4 questions to be asking yourself. Am I using a number? Am I pulling verbatim? Is this something that someone could question whether I am the one that thought of this thing or not? And the 4th one, am I defining some type of new term? Is this the first time that I'm introducing it in the paper? Okay. So those are just some tips to be thinking about: when to be citing, how to be citing more often, more effectively, to be strengthening the tone of your paper, and just come back to ABC, right? When it comes to research, when it comes to writing as an academic, always be citing, okay? So good luck to you as you go into the field and start citing your research papers more. Have a great day.